India's struggle for independence from British rule is a story of immense sacrifice, unwavering resolve, and relentless pursuit of justice. This journey, spanning over 200 years, witnessed the rise of numerous leaders, the birth of powerful movements, and the unity of millions under a common cause. The saga of India's freedom is not just the story of a nation's emancipation, but also a testament to the power of nonviolence, the strength of collective will, and the indomitable human spirit. The British East India Company began its trade operations in India in the early 17th century. Gradually, it expanded its influence, exploiting the rich resources and the political disunity among Indian rulers. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 marked the beginning of British political control in India, with the company seizing significant territories and establishing a colonial administration. As the British tightened their grip, they imposed heavy taxes, exploited Indian resources, and implemented policies that led to widespread poverty and social unrest. The Indian economy, once a global powerhouse, was systematically dismantled to serve British interests. This economic exploitation, coupled with racial discrimination and cultural subjugation, sowed the seeds of discontent among the Indian population. The first significant uprising against British rule came in 1857, often referred to as the First War of Independence or the Sepoy Mutiny. The immediate cause was the introduction of the new Enfield rifle, whose cartridges were rumored to be greased with cow and pig fat, offending both Hindu and Muslim soldiers. The revolt quickly spread across northern and central India, with both soldiers and civilians joining forces against the British. Leaders like Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, Tantia Tope, and Nana Sahib emerged as key figures in this rebellion. Despite initial successes, the uprising was eventually crushed by the British, who retaliated with severe brutality. However, the 1857 revolt marked the beginning of a new era in India's freedom struggle, igniting the spirit of resistance and sowing the seeds for future movements. In the years following the 1857 uprising, the Indian nationalist movement began to take shape. The Indian National Congress, Inc., was founded in 1885 by A.O. Hume, a retired British civil servant, along with Indian leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji, W.C. Banerjee, and Surendranath Banerjee. Initially, the Congress sought to address grievances through petitions and appeals to the British government, advocating for greater representation of Indians in the administration. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the rise of moderate leaders like Gopal Krishna Gokhale and extremists like Bal Gangadhar Tilak. While the moderates believed in gradual reforms and constitutional methods, the extremists, led by Tilak, Bipin Chandrapal, and Lala Lajpat Rai, demanded Swaraj, self-rule, and were willing to adopt more aggressive methods to achieve their goals. Tilak's slogan, "Swaraj is my birthright, and I shall have it," resonated with millions of Indians, fueling the demand for independence. The partition of Bengal in 1905 by Lord Curzon further galvanized nationalist sentiments, leading to widespread protests and the Swadeshi movement, which encouraged Indians to boycott British goods and promote indigenous industries. The arrival of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi in 1915 marked a turning point in India's freedom struggle. Gandhi, who had successfully led the civil rights movement in South Africa, brought with him the philosophy of satyagraha, truth and nonviolence. He believed that nonviolent resistance was the most powerful weapon against oppression. In 1919, the British passed the Rowlatt Act, which allowed them to imprison Indians without trial. This sparked widespread outrage, leading to protests across the country. One of the most tragic incidents during this period was the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, where British troops under General Dyer fired on a peaceful gathering in Amritsar, killing hundreds of men, women, and children. The massacre shocked the nation and further fueled the demand for independence. In response, Gandhi launched the non-cooperation movement in 1920, urging Indians to withdraw their support from British institutions, boycott foreign goods, and resign from government jobs. The movement saw massive participation from all sections of society, including students, peasants, and women. It also led to the emergence of new leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. However, the movement was abruptly called off by Gandhi in 1922 after the Chauri Chaura incident, where a violent mob killed 22 policemen. Gandhi, a staunch advocate of nonviolence, was deeply disturbed by the incident and decided to suspend the movement, believing that the nation was not yet ready for complete nonviolence. The next major phase of the freedom struggle began in 1930 with the launch of the civil disobedience movement. The movement was sparked by the British refusal to grant dominion status to India and their continued exploitation of Indian resources. Gandhi chose salt, a basic necessity, as the symbol of protest against British oppression. On March 12, 1930, Gandhi embarked on the historic Salt March from Sabarmati Ashram to the coastal village of Dandi, covering a distance of 240 miles. Thousands of people joined him along the way, and on April 6th, Gandhi broke the salt law by making salt from seawater, symbolizing defiance against British authority. The civil disobedience movement spread like wildfire across the country, with millions of Indians refusing to pay taxes, boycotting British goods, and engaging in acts of civil disobedience. The British responded with repression, arresting thousands of leaders, including Gandhi. However, the movement had a profound impact, uniting people from all walks of life and bringing the demand for independence to the forefront of global attention. As World War II raged on, the British government sought India's support in the war effort. In return, Indian leaders demanded immediate independence. However, the British were unwilling to grant full independence, leading to the launch of the Quit India movement in 1942, one of the most intense phases of the freedom struggle. On August 8, 1942, the All India Congress Committee passed the Quit India Resolution, demanding an end to British rule. Gandhi gave the famous call to do or die, urging Indians to engage in a mass uprising against the British. The response was overwhelming, with widespread protests, strikes, and acts of sabotage. The British reacted with brutal repression, arresting almost the entire leadership of the Congress, including Gandhi, Nehru, and Patel. Despite the crackdown, the movement continued, driven by the youth and common people who kept the flame of resistance alive. The Quit India movement marked the beginning of the end for British rule in India, as it became increasingly clear that the British could no longer govern India without its consent. While Gandhi and the Congress were advocating nonviolent resistance, another prominent leader, Subhas Chandra Bose, believed that India's independence could only be achieved through armed struggle. Bose, a former Congress president, had grown disillusioned with the slow pace of the freedom movement and sought international support to oust the British. Bose escaped from India in 1941 and traveled to Germany and Japan, where he sought the help of Axis powers. He formed the Indian National Army, INA, with Indian soldiers who had been captured by the Japanese during the war. The INA, under Bose's leadership, launched a military campaign against the British in northeast India, aiming to liberate the country by force. Although the INA's campaign ultimately failed due to the superior strength of the British forces, Bose's efforts inspired many Indians and showed the world that Indians were willing to fight for their freedom. Bose's legacy as a revolutionary leader continues to be remembered and honored in India. The end of World War II left Britain economically and politically weakened, making it difficult to maintain its empire. By 1946, it was evident that British rule in India was unsustainable. The Labour government in Britain, led by Clement Attlee, decided to grant India independence. However, communal tensions between Hindus and Muslims were on the rise, fueled by the demand for a separate Muslim state by the All India Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The Congress, led by Nehru and Patel, initially opposed the idea of partition but eventually agreed to it, fearing that a united India would be engulfed in civil war. On August 15, 1947, India finally gained its independence, but at a great cost. The country was partitioned into two nations, India and Pakistan. The partition led to one of the largest and most tragic migrations in history, with millions of people displaced and communal violence resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands. India's journey to independence is a story of unparalleled courage, sacrifice, and resilience. It is the story of leaders who, despite their differences, united under a common cause, and of millions of ordinary Indians who participated in the struggle in their own ways. The legacy of the freedom movement is a reminder of the power of unity, nonviolence, and the relentless pursuit of justice. India's independence was not just the end of colonial rule, but the beginning of a new chapter in its history.